Codependent relationships often result in us neglecting ourselves and our own needs. In this episode of Normalize the Conversation, we learn about moving through codependency and learning to identify and meet our own needs. Welcome to Normalize the Conversation. I'm your host, Francesca Reicherter, and today I'm joined by an attachment theory coach, Shelby Avann. Shelby, thank you so much for joining me today. Before we jump into our conversation, I really want to check in with you. How are you really?
For me, I've actually been having a pretty hard time lately. I've been transitioning into my coaching, which is what we are going to talk about with my skills and stuff today. But I've been very overwhelmed with a lot of things going on for myself. So I've got transitioning out of a job that I've done for 8 years into doing this coaching thing, finding a new place to live at the same time, dealing with a breakup like about a month ago at this point, and then like some pretty heavy like therapy, repressed memory stuff coming up. So a lot of like very emotionally sensitive lately is how I honestly am. And not as low. I was actually very lonely when we met, which was, I think, one of the reasons that we did meet. Because this is very much like what I feel like the branding of your chair is all about, is how loneliness comes through. So that's exactly how I was feeling that day that we were there. That's gotten better, but it's something that I also struggle with. So that's probably the very honest truth of how I'm doing.
Well, thank you for being so honest and vulnerable. And it makes sense that you're feeling that way. That's a lot. That is a lot. Just transitioning into a new role is terrifying, to say the least. It's very overwhelming as you're getting started, jumping in and finding those early clients, finding that early kind of look of the brand and how it's going to be. And just figuring out the overall makeup. I know for me, that was the most overwhelming thing in the world. It resulted in a lot of mental breakdowns and sometimes still does, because do you ever really know what you're doing? It's hard. It's overwhelming. And then a breakup is a lot to deal with, and moving. I mean, these are major life changes all happening at once. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't handle one of them happening at a time well, so I cannot imagine what you're going through. But to be showing up here today, to still be working through it, to not giving up on this coaching business, because I know how amazing you are, I know you're going to help so many people, is just amazing, to say the least. You are amazing.
Thank you.
So we met, what, 3 weeks ago?
It wasn't that long ago.
No, at the Revolution Her Summit, which was in Canada. And it was really honoring women and all these different roles we take on, and really supporting us through, body positivity, through starting a business, through finding our voice, through all these different pieces, which was amazing. But what stuck out for me the most during that conference was the first day I knew nobody. I was up at 2:45 a.m. till 9:30 when it started, crying. I was like, I'm not going, like freaking out. I was not going to know anybody. I'm in like a different country, first time leaving the country by myself, just overwhelmed. And I finally pulled myself together with 3 layers of concealer and sat down in the back corner table. And like, I was terrified. I was not going to talk to anybody. Like, my goal was just like be there and listen and then bolt. But you came and sat down next to me and you're like, can I sit here? And I was like, yeah. And I wasn't expecting like you to talk to me, but then you started talking to me and making me feel like I wasn't alone.
My intention even of coming to the event was, again, I think the breakup for me had only happened like a week or two before I went to that event. And that made me feel very, very lonely. And a part of the thing, even within that relationship, I had been feeling like where am I? I need friends. I don't have friends. It's been like, I had separated myself from a lot of people like years, probably about 4 years ago, because I had some stuff going on with my family that really hurt me. And I kind of went into this protection mode of like, everyone's going to hurt me. And I don't want anyone to get close to me. And so I started doing that then. And then COVID happened, and then that was super isolating. And then kind of coming out of it and trying to be with people, and then like being able to finally be with someone for a consistent amount of time, and then breaking up with them and then losing that connection. It was like my only connection that I really had that was very significant to me. So I was feeling very, very lonely because he was the only person that I had. So I wanted to go and show up at this event where I would meet other people that were very aligned in the direction that I wanted to go with like my own business, and then other women that I really wanted to like manifest and bring into my life. And so I came into it with the intention of connecting with people. And that's been my connection pretty much probably since doing that event, is to really make more connections, make friends, make find the right business people, find the right clients for me, and make these really deep intentional connections. And so in finding you, something that I've done in the past too, is I've done solo traveling. I think I told you this at the event, but like I've done solo traveling. And again, I put myself in this situation. These situations are actually very lonely. And I have to put myself out there to make friends. And so I've gotten really good at finding other people that look lonely, basically, and look like they're there by themselves. I'm like, oh, these are the easiest types of people to make friends with, because realistically, they're probably looking for the exact same thing that I am. Because if people have other friends, like they're in a friend group, then they usually feel pretty safe, and they might be accepting, but you still might feel excluded.
Yeah.
Because they've got their safe group over here, and you're kind of like, you're new and invited, but you're kind of like the weird one just because they don't know you. So it makes it easier to approach someone that's already by themselves. And that's why I approached you. But I also very much believe in like law of attraction and being aligned and meeting the right people.
It was like solo traveling. I mean, I do it every week now, and it's a lot, and it's overwhelming, and it's hard to find people when they're already in a group, like you said, because you are that odd man out, and you're trying to figure out if you can fit into the group and infiltrate the group. And they're like, why is this person here? And not like in a mean way, but subconsciously, that's kind of how we feel when someone new enters the group. At least that's how I feel sometimes. I'm like, why this group? What's the intention? And it's not like in a mean way, but sometimes those are just like the natural innate thoughts. So it's, everyone seemed to have somebody, and then you coming up to me changed the whole event for me. I felt it took a while. It wasn't until I started talking to you about IMG that I started to like talk.
Yeah.
But having that connection was amazing. And that event, bringing people together who were like-minded, who were giving us a chance to figure out not only who we are, but making connections toward figuring out ways to just support each other, women supporting women. There's not, for so long, at least in my life, I felt like women are pitted against each other, and we're trying to like compete over who can do it, who can't, being the top dog or whatever you want to call it. So to have an event where it was just women supporting women was really awesome. What was your favorite part of the event, by the way?
I think all of the mental health stuff, to be honest. So there's the one lady who spoke, Kendra Fisher.
Yes.
And she was the one that was talking about, I can't remember exactly the full name of it, but it's like an anxiety disorder that she realized she had, and she was hiding it. And the impact that she had in the way that she told her story, and how proud she was of being able to hide it. And then hearing a story about a girl that had committed suicide, and then her realizing that like, I'm a part of the problem because I'm proud of myself for hiding this, versus if I had spoken up about this, then people wouldn't have felt, again, so alone, because there's tons of people suffering with something that I have, something that you have, something that she has. And if we spoke about it, then we could potentially save lives, which is really powerful.
It is. The conversation is so undervalued. And I agree that you need to be in a space that you're comfortable mentally and physically with what's around you to have these conversations, and make sure no one should be forced to share their story in a way that they're comfortable. However, that point when we get there and we can have these conversations and we can speak up and say, I've been going through this, I am going through this, or I went through this, and this is what's been helping me, or this is where I am today, giving that hope, giving that kind of guide, just something really can save lives, like you said. I think that was one of my favorite parts as well. I know one of the things that really inspired you to go to that conference was you're transitioning into the coaching business and finding like-minded individuals, finding some kind of inspiration, support, guidance as you're transitioning through that. What inspired you to transition from you were working with horses to now coaching and supporting other people?
Yeah. So going back to what I was actually saying at the beginning there, like when the things happened with my family, when they almost, like my parents almost split up, and that was really painful for my family in general. It was very painful for me. And I remember thinking to myself when it happened, there was just like a certain point where I was like, I'm just in pain all the time. And I need to feel better. And so my journey started with trying to bring like some mindfulness practices in. So this was in, I think, about 2018. So I started just doing stuff like meditation, affirmations. Then I started going to some women's events in California. Then I joined a mastermind. Then I started doing Reiki, which is energy healing. I don't think it was all in that order, but nonetheless, but I started doing all of these things. And then the thing with Reiki was like, that's one of the things that I still offer. But for me, it was something where it offers people this really great spiritual, like a spiritual healing and a connection to the things that are going wrong in their life, not going wrong in their life, but like the biggest issues that are coming up for them and emotional things that are coming up for them, and it's showing up in their body and their energy and the way that like physical hurts can be coming up. And once stuff like that happens, I can get messages that come, but it kind of just tells people more about what the problem is without actually giving anyone an answer and something to do to help them heal it, basically. And so I started doing like this personal development type school thing that was about attachment theory. And I started diving in and healing myself with that. And I found myself becoming more secure in my own attachment style. And then they offered this training. And I was like, this is literally the stuff that I need to give to people as the answer, in which Reiki is like this beautiful healing experience, but still only gives you questions and doesn't really offer the full help and the steps you need to heal. So I'm like, I want to be able to compile these two things together and be able to help people because I can see it's working for me.
That one thing that I love more than anything else in this world is people taking pain and turning it into action, turning it into a purpose. Because so often pain is turned into or manifested into anger and hurt. So to take that and move forward and use it to help other people is one of the most inspiring things. So I want to thank you for being that person and showing up in that role, because you're helping other people hopefully eventually get to that point where they can do that too. But going back into your own healing, starting in the beginning, what attracted you first to starting these mindfulness practices?
I remember a particular time, someone that I was seeing at that point in time, we were on the verge of breaking up as well at that particular point in my life. And I remember one day saying I really needed him. And then this stuff happened. And I realized that I needed myself more. And I had no idea what that actually meant. I said it. I remember saying it out loud. And then I knew it was true. And that was that. I got rid of him. And then I just started working on my own stuff. And it just went from there. And I'm like, I'm very intuitively led. So I didn't I started realizing that as I started working on my Reiki practice, it got more and more strong, like this voice and this knowing within me. And, but yeah, at that point, I think at that point in time, I hadn't done any of that stuff, but it was just a very strong message that came through for me. And I was just like, okay, I think this is obviously what I need. I need to find relief somehow. So let's see where it goes. And I just let myself be guided wherever I needed to go, basically. And so, yeah, it led to like a 5-minute meditation practice. I'm like, this is really hard. So this is where I need to start. It's 5 minutes and be okay with that. And then just try to do that consistently. And then I would expand it. And then I met a friend that was interested in crystals. And so she told me like what crystals were about and how their healing properties and how you could be intuitively guided to the exact right crystal for you, which I thought was crazy. But it was true. Like I went to the crystal store and my eyes were attracted to a certain crystal and I read about it. And it was exactly what was going on in my life right now, exactly the things that I needed. So I'm like, there's something to this intuitive voice that's guiding me to like even these physical things or even to these events, these people, there's this different stuff. And so it took me down a road of listening to that voice more and more.
I love that. First of all, when you said I needed me, like I needed myself, I went through a phase for a very long time where right around the time I was like attempting suicide, that I felt like I needed this one person to survive. Like I needed them in my life every day. I needed to be near them to stay alive because they made me feel supported and loved. But when they weren't there, when a situation arose where they weren't there in the way I expected them to be, and it was my expectations, that I was falling apart. I couldn't catch my breath. I felt like I could not breathe. And I had no idea why. That attachment and losing that attachment, losing that relationship, fearing losing that relationship is completely overwhelming. And I mean, that person is like rarely, if tiny bit in my life now. I've moved past that attachment, moved into a place where the relationship has completely changed and there's love there, of course, but it's just not the same. And that's exactly what I need and needed. Trying to find myself in the midst of that, oh my goodness, I had no idea who I was outside of this person. I had no idea who I was in general. And it was, I mean, I have so much respect and admiration for anyone who's gone through that feeling and through that pain. I mean, just the only word I have to describe that pain and that journey is wow.
Well, it's interesting as you're talking about that, because I can very much relate to exactly what you're talking about as well, with being with really feeling like I need this person. And I think this is actually probably something that a lot of people may have felt more so after with like that isolation time of COVID too. Because if we're not connected with people, it's really hard. And then all of a sudden, if we are connected with someone, and for me, it's always been like, I've noticed it in a couple romantic relationships where I'm like, I really need this person because I'm not connected with any other people. And I'm not like physically touching any other people. And I need, like, there's certain things that I really need in my life to feel comfortable. I wasn't able to meet my own needs. And that's what I think we're going to talk about later as well. But it was like recognizing that, like being, I remember another time where I was in a, like in flux in a certain relationship. And thinking to myself, like, I don't know what I'm going to, like, same thing that you were saying, basically, like, I don't know what I'm going to do if I don't have this person. And then having that thought scared the shit out of me. I was like, that's not okay. We need to, whatever this is, we need to figure out how to fix that, because that's not going to go well for us later if we don't work on that now.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Exactly. And then going into, I find it, and maybe this is why like our energy really attracted to each other. One of the first things I did was trying to go into meditation and spiritual in a different way. I was raised very Catholic, very Christian, and I looked through life during one complete lens, and switching what that lens looked like and incorporating different aspects of spirituality and the universe, and looking into meditation, looking into crystals. I mean, sound healing, doing the sound baths, I absolutely love. Building affirmations, all these different pieces and the exploration of it. And some of it worked, some of it didn't. For me, meditation, like you said, trying to do that 5-minute meditation, I was in tears every day trying to meditate because I couldn't sit in silence with myself. And now I can handle like a minute meditation and then it's over tears. But that's where I'm at in life.
It's okay.
But to start there and moving through that to figure out who you are, what was that process like internally?
I'm still working on breaking codependency. So I really needed to utilize other people to validate who I was and to help me learn who I was, which works in some aspects, but it can be hard when your body's starting to tell you that, yes, you can be this person, but this thing that they're saying or they are doing or they want to lead you, like that part's not right for you. So that's kind of basically been my journey in figuring out myself. And then also saying, like, yes, they can see me in a certain way, but I do know myself better. Yeah. And I can feel in my body what feels right for me. And some of those things that they see aren't the same. I don't know if that really 100% makes sense. It is super clear, but that's just one of the things that I noticed myself consistently working on. It's gotten a lot better, but it's really trying to hear that inner voice inside of you without hearing like what those other voices are saying you should be.
Yes, that the outside voices, for me at least, drown out the inner voices sometimes. Yeah. And it took a long time to listen to myself and hear my own voice, hear my own thoughts, recognize how dark they were because of the outside voices, and then try to reframe them into a way where I could figure out my attachment style and figure out how I was feeling toward other people and move through that codependency in a way that was healthy. Because without hearing my own voice and figuring out what I was thinking, like, how would I even begin to understand how I'm attaching myself to people, how I'm building relationships, and how to work through it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So for you, talking about codependency, I mean, you're coaching, a lot of it reflects around attachment style. So how did you go from these codependent relationships to figuring out your attachment style and then now being able to understand it in a way that helps others?
How did I learn this? Well, I think I started recognizing patterns in my relationships that became so consistent that I realized that the problem was within me, kind of thing. So as I started to look at that and notice that, I kept wanting to do like masterminds or have coaches or connect with people that could keep helping me. And I connected with this one coach who she guided me towards this like personal development school which I did the attachment theory stuff too. And she said, like, it sounds like you've got like some attachment style stuff going on. Why don't you go and take the quiz? Let me know like what attachment style you are. Go and check out some of these videos. It'll probably be helpful. And like our next coaching session, we'll talk about some stuff. And so that's kind of how I started learning about it. And then what was the other question after that? Sorry,
So from being codependent to learning more about attachment style to how you got to where you are.
Okay.
To help others.
Yeah. I didn't even realize that I was codependent. The attachment style stuff started first. And then as I started learning more and more about it, like I just kept watching these YouTube videos and learning more. And then I subscribed to like the school and started learning more from there. And then, just realized there's like so many of these crazy terms that are put out there, like codependent, parentified, a certain type of attachment style. I'm anxious and dismissive. I'm like fearful, avoidant. I've got all these like different things coming at me, and just being like, okay, I've just got like a lot of stuff to heal. But insecure attachment styles, like, usually are codependent with one another. It's just very common, and just people lose themselves within one another or completely within themselves, and then can't rely on other people. So it was just, as I keep getting distracted, I keep like going down a rabbit hole and then having to be regrounded. Tell me the last part one more time now. The last question was codependence.
So how you got to where you are today to be able to now go and help people.
I just kept doing the work. It's probably the short version of that. I just kept doing the work on the attachment style courses and whatnot that with that school is the gist. And then like I've had coaches and therapy for years now. So that's also helped too. But the program that I did was probably the most helpful.
Having someone to guide you through it, for me, like having a therapist, having a coach, having somebody there is one of the most powerful pieces, because I can look it all up until I'm blue in the face. I can research, I can read about my textbooks, but sometimes it's just easier to have a guide, someone who may just point you in the right direction of where to begin or what to look for, recognize, or say, you know what, I'm recognizing this pattern, or I've recognized that you've strayed away from this trauma, this piece, and bringing attention, awareness to it, because when we're so close to it, it's hard sometimes to recognize. So for me, having a therapist, having a coach to guide through is single-handedly the most important part outside of doing the work myself when I leave that coaching session or therapy room.
Yeah, I agree with that, because like I'm pretty self-aware, but I definitely need people to help point out some of the patterns that I also have, because sometimes it's that is all you need.
Exactly. That self-awareness is so hard to come by, and it's so amazing when you get to that, but it's not always as easy. For me, I can be the most self-aware person, and I'm very self-aware, but something may happen and it may take me days, weeks, months to process where it came from, why I reacted the way I did, and why I'm feeling the way I did. But having somebody there, having therapy or a coach, someone that for me once a week is really important, having that person there who I can talk to during it, who I can talk it through. They don't even necessarily have to respond, but having a safe space where I can say, this is what happened, this is what I'm going through, this is what I'm experiencing, and break it down, verbally speak, it makes all the difference.
Yeah, 100%.
So I guess at that point, what inspired you to go into coaching and to take on that role?
The transformation that I was having is basically what it was. Like I've always enjoyed teaching. I've definitely always enjoyed teaching. But then recognizing the stuff that I was doing that was actually helping me could help others. It's just something that I was like, I want and need to share this. And it was basically as simple as that. I just was doing things that were working, and like other people need to know.
You are speaking my language. That's what my work is about, spending these pieces that helped me and using it to build guides to help other people, because we can't do it alone. And it takes us doing the work and putting that work out there for other people to know that that's an option, that that's a resource, that we can work on it, that we can recognize that, hey, this relationship isn't okay, or this trauma, what I'm living with right now, is not okay. It's okay not to be okay, but it's not okay for me to stay feeling this way, because I don't have to. I can find happiness. I can find a loving relationship. I can find myself and find fulfillment and happiness within myself, and not need anything else to be like, I'm okay.
Yeah. And actually, this might be a really great place for me to like go into some of the stuff that I do. Because I think a lot of the times what some of the problems are with why we end up being in so much pain is because we start telling ourselves these stories that just keep playing over and over in our heads again and again and again. And if we don't stop them and change them and correct them, then we just cause ourselves suffering. And then if we keep repeating those things too, it's kind of like a walking trail. So if you've like just started exploring a new place, like a new, I don't know, field or something like that, and the first time you go and walk through it, there's no trail there, right? Like you'll walk through it and the grass will be bent down. But then if you keep doing it, then eventually over time, there's going to be like a worn out path where you like to go. And that's kind of like the same thing as our brains. So if we keep telling ourselves that bad negative story, then it gets ingrained in there, and it's harder and harder for like new grass to basically poke through, because we're walking and creating a trench.
Yeah, exactly. The narrative we tell ourselves, the story we tell ourselves over and over and over again. For me, that story was that I'm not enough, that I'm not good enough, that people won't love me if I don't perform at the top level, if I'm not the best student, if I'm not getting straight A's, if I can't master physics and calculus. Like, those are the stories I was telling myself. And that's so silly, because no one cares if you can do physics or calculus. Unless you're like going into that field, please, like, that's important to know what you're doing. But that's not where like my parents' love was coming from, or my friends' love was not my ability to perform high in these very, very hard classes that caused so many mental breakdowns that I survived through, but not gracefully in any way, shape, or form. But this narrative is so hard. And, the other day, and I realized this narrative was not self-taught, but a lot of it was learned. The other day, I was at my one friend's house, and someone else there, not my friend, we got into a heated argument because politics, and that's something we should never bring up. It's the lesson learned in that situation, because it just did not go well. And these are people that I would like to have good relationships with. But anyways, it turned into a conversation how I'm selfish and spoiled, and like all these problems with me. And I was like, this is the narrative I told myself for so long. So this narrative came from stories other people had in their head. I am not this selfish, spoiled person. I genuinely go out of my way to help other people every single day, took the resources I have and turned it into a way to support others. But that narrative I had in my head for so long, telling me I wasn't good enough because of all these pieces, was learned from someone else. So when you have these voices drowning you out in your head, and it's causing your inner voice to just spiral, how can we learn to reframe these thoughts?
Well, the first thing is definitely to make sure that you do have to become self-aware first, taking note of what's going on in your body. Like if you start noticing your emotions, like you're in a bad mood, you're sad, you're angry, if you can kind of go backwards and track back what made you feel that way, then you'll be able to kind of see what's going on from there. Be like, I had an argument with someone, and it made me feel X, Y, and Z. I told myself these stories about myself. That's why I'm in a bad mood. And then if you keep doing that throughout the week, and you say, I had another thing come up with another person, and they said this thing, I had these stories come up in my head. And then you realize, hey, those are the same things from the other day too. So usually you have a consistent, similar story. And so what I have to do is like realize what it is. And then you have to start working to actually be like, okay, no, I am like, I'm not good enough, then you go, okay, how about I start looking at these other ways of how am I good enough? And you just have to say, like, you really have to think about it. And I tell people use the 7 areas of life, which is career, relationships, finances, spirit, mental and emotional. That's 6. There's one more. I can't remember what the other one is off the top of my head. But there's 7 of them. So you can go through there and then just say, okay, like, how am I good enough in my career? Like, what did I do today? Like, I showed up on time. That makes me good enough. Financially, I paid my bills on time. That makes me good enough. And you kind of just like keep going down like that, the list like that, and try to give yourself like, you can actually sit down and do a journaling, like it's called reprogramming, when you start to do the opposites of whatever story it is that you're telling yourself, and just continually do that and try to do it for like 21 days of why you're good enough, and give yourself 10 to 15 things. And eventually your brain will start to shift, and you'll start to see when that story comes up or someone else presents it to you, and like they might fully say to you, dude, you're not good enough. And you're going to say, it's not like, you're going to go in your head and be like, nope, that story is not true anymore. I don't believe that. And then you can just basically like equilibrate your own brain, be like, no, and here's why. You don't have to say it to them because they're not going to believe it if that's what they're saying to you in the first place, right? But you know yourself that you are.
When you look in the mirror and have a new narrative, a narrative that's true to who you are, that makes you feel good, that encourages you, I mean, that changes everything. That's one of the very first steps to loving yourself and showing up for yourself and working through what's happened in your life, through experience you have, being prepared for other experiences and that you can cope through them. So going off that, what is kind of that second step?
But okay, so when people, so reframing their thoughts. So basically, like the first thing there that I was talking about, that's actually a core wound that's coming up. So if you consistently tell yourself, I'm not good enough, that's a core wound that you're working on. So you're reprogramming, like basically like a trauma wound that you've been retelling yourself. So what you want to do from there afterwards is you want to figure out what it is that you actually need. And your needs can look like if you're saying, I'm not good enough, what is it that I need to do? What do I need in this situation? It might be that, you're talking to someone and they're not understanding you. And that's why you're not feeling like you're good enough, because you just need to be heard properly. Like someone's not getting it. Like, I am good enough. I'm offering value, but you're just like, you're not getting it. And so the need is to be understood, or to be validated, to be heard. Right. And so understanding that, like, okay, how can I give that to myself, or where can I find it from someone else? Like, who is a better person that can help me, that can listen to me and give me this? Or can I journal this stuff out and communicate to myself better, or like figure out how I can maybe say this to someone else in a better way by writing it down a few different ways and trying it, like just trying to do things like that. So yeah, it's like figuring out what the core wound is, and then coming down and understanding what the need is and how you can create a strategy to give yourself that need.
Identifying the needs that's actually what I'm working on right now. My next workbook is creating that. That's actually a section I just did, was identifying your needs and figuring out where they all come from. Because for me, I might be on the floor crying and have no idea. That happened the other day. Like, my whole life story is me crying. It's what I'm realizing throughout this episode, this conversation. But where is that coming from? Not only is it for me this fear of not being good enough or letting people down or not doing enough, it's this fear of failing school, of not graduating, getting this degree. It's also this lack of sleep. It's this changing of the time zones. It's this not making time for myself. So identifying all these different aspects and needs to that self-awareness, that reframing the thoughts, getting sleep, setting boundaries, saying no, making time for self-care, recognizing what they are, and then how to move through them, how to meet those needs, what it means to meet those needs, has been a lot of work, but worth it as I move through it. I mean, I slept 11 hours last night and I needed that so much. And it was great to recognize that need and meet that need today. Hopefully meet it again tomorrow, but we'll see.
Yeah. Well, I mean, because in meeting you and even just hearing like on that weekend, the craziness of what your life is like, but being like recognizing how crazy it is, and then seeing how you can find balance in that, right? And what things are really serving you, and what things you like are really giving you life, and then are there things that you can cut out or not? Because like some of the strategies that we do, and I'll just give the example of something that a lot of people do now, of being like, scrolling or binge watching Netflix or something, right? Usually if people are doing that, they're binging on, I'll give my own personal example. I do this because emotional connection is a super high need for me. And scrolling through social media or binge watching television, you're connecting with the people or the characters on there. And that gives like a low grade level of meeting that need, but it's really not quality. So that's why you end up watching so much or scrolling for so long, because you need more of it to be able to meet the need, but it still doesn't really fill the cup, versus like this, like having a conversation with you now, is a really good way to meet an emotional connection need for me, because we're having a proper in-depth conversation of something I'm passionate about, you're passionate about. So it fills that need way better. And that's a healthier strategy versus Instagram and Netflix.
Yes, because scrolling through Instagram, I mean, it's a great way to find connection, but it's a great way to find self-doubt, especially for me. That confidence when I see people who have their lives together, or on the outside look like they have their lives together. Can't say that they do, because I don't always know their personal life and what they're going through, and people don't necessarily share it on social media. But seeing people whose body looks incredible, or who have so many followers and so many people commenting that they love them, and just all these different things that I can use to compare against myself and doubt myself, as well as like binge watching on TV. I mean, one thing I binge is Grey's Anatomy over and over and over again, and that like emotional connection to Meredith Grey. When she's going through all this trauma, I'm feeling it too, and I'm adding this extra layer of pain to myself on the daily basis, and then starting it over for 18 seasons is and I watched it too many times. I can quote most of the show, but that's a whole other issue and story. But sometimes recognizing that I need emotional connection, like you said, with people face to face, or through conversations like this on Zoom, on FaceTime, creating that space where I can talk to people and communicate, that makes me feel good, that makes me excited. Intention, that's everything. So going back to identifying these needs and then recognizing we need to meet them, what's an example of a step we can take toward meeting a need?
So again, first starting off with something that you know is not working for you. So like, let me think of something else instead of the Netflix thing. What are one of my other bad habits? How about this would be another one. So like even dating apps would be another really great one. So if you're single and you're looking for, again, connection of some sort, or you don't want to, like you're avoiding being basically intimate with yourself and understanding yourself, and you don't know how to be with yourself, and you need someone else to help see you, or to tell you like who you are or something like that. And then you find yourself going onto a dating app, and then you realize you're losing yourself and you're not happy. Like to find the need, I feel like you need to start where probably like looking at your emotions again, because basically your body can tell you everything that you need to know. It's just whether or not you're paying attention to it. So you might have like pain in your body, you might have emotion in your body, and just looking at that, because usually if there's emotional pain, it's saying that something's missing.
Yes, exactly. Looking at that emotional pain and making steps to move through it. For me, something I've recently have gone through, obviously, is my lack of sleep. We all know that. So at first, it was really hard because, I mean, if I'm sleeping 2 hours a night because I think I don't have time to sleep, that's a big issue. And if that's the story I'm telling myself over and over again, that I don't have time to sleep because then I'm taking away from work or from school or from studying. And if I do that, then I'm going to let people down. I'm going to fail. And then it's the whole, do you want a social life or do you want to sleep? Because I could spend that hour sleeping, or I could spend that hour hanging out with my friends, and kind of going over and over in that cycle and telling myself all the reasons I don't have time to sleep. So not only for me was it recognizing that need, but intentionally scheduling time to sleep. So whether it was giving myself, you know what, I'm going to make sure I sleep 3 hours today, or I'm going to take a 20-minute power nap, and slowly getting myself to a space where I feel, okay, I deserve to sleep. I'm seeing how it's making me feel better. I deserve it. Now, how else can I schedule time? What boundaries can I set for myself? Maybe I don't need to be studying for 10 hours straight. Maybe I do know after a couple hours, and maybe I'm second guessing myself and doubting myself too much. Maybe I don't need to be producing X amount of podcasts or X amount of books or X amount of content in one day. Maybe that's something I can spread out and stop putting unrealistic deadlines on myself, making that understanding I can do this, the intention to start doing it, and then scheduling in that time so I can set those boundaries and reframing it. For me, I mean, that was a lot that it's helpful.
Yeah.
See the smile? Other people can't see it right now, but this was not here a couple weeks ago, as you can attest to.
Yeah, you were pretty down when we were at the event. Definitely. So it's very nice. I'm glad to hear that you've got more sleep. I hope that you get more consistent sleep. I think boundaries are a great thing. That's definitely something else that I help people work on, because usually again, like going back to like codependency and needs and having those things being met and like understanding yourself, usually we are not being honest and true to our own boundaries, or we like literally don't have any, and we're just people pleasing all the time. And it's not good. It's not healthy for us. And, yeah, so it's like, that's something else that I try to help people with. But I know, like, even just thinking in the sleep example here too, and hearing that, for me, I think that one of the really great things that people need to, and this would be great for you, is like just to find compassion for yourself as well. Like that's probably literally the biggest thing that I know I kept like writing and journaling, and I was like, compassion just kept coming up in my writings. This is what we need: compassion and grace. And understand, like, one of the things about sleep is actually super healing too. And when you get that sleep, you're able to show up better and be more productive and do all the things that much better, right? Because it's a lot harder if you're tired. And so once we start to, again, it's just like the reprogram and be like, why is it important for me to get sleep? What does that offer me? And how can this actually better what I'm already doing? And so, and if it's that you want to be more productive or still be able to be as that productive, then it's kind of like, this is actually a productivity habit that I really need to include. And I know that consistently sleeping for X amount of hours each night means that I'll wake up refreshed and I'll be able to show up really well to my podcast. I'll be able to be more attentive in school. I'll be able to study better. I'll be more alert. I won't need like 5 coffees, which is really unhealthy for you, right? And just be anxious all the time. And like for me, I like coffee, but I like it as a treat. And I recognize that it will make me more anxious than if I'm using coffee because I didn't get enough sleep. Like, I know that this is an aid, and I know what my real issue is. I need sleep, kind of thing. Cause like, I very much recognize that, because in the job that I do currently, which isn't my coaching part, is it's helping like bring baby horses into the world. And that usually happens in the middle of the night. So when I do that and wake up in the middle of the night, and then the next day I'm like, I need coffee. And I know exactly why I was up in the middle of the night and my sleep was disturbed. Like, I know the remedy is sleep. It's not the coffee.
Yes. Coffee in an IV staff is my motto. Yeah. And it's not a good motto to have. I'm drinking coffee at 1 a.m. It's a problem.
Yeah. So. Sleep instead.
Thank you to everyone listening for coming to my therapy session today. It's been great. I don't know how this hour has gone by so fast. I blinked and it's been almost an hour. Mm-hmm. I obviously love talking with you. But as we're wrapping up, give us a quick pitch on why people should sign up to be coached by you.
If you really feel like you recognize that you're stuck in a pattern, and in relationships with yourself, like you're really unhappy, you can't seem to find like really fulfilling relationships, or that you're really disconnected and you're feeling lonely, like both of us have felt, and a lot of people feel, then learning to understand your attachment style and to create that intimacy with yourself is something that could be really important, and it can really help you. And I can help you do that. And like the connect, if we're feeling lonely too, having that one-on-one coaching connection is a really great way of finding connection with the person. Right. So if it's something that you're looking for, then, contact me. We can talk about it and we can see if it's a better fit for you, or if we're a good fit for each other, kind of thing.
Shelby, you are amazing. The work you're doing is, I need a bigger vocabulary. I keep saying amazing.
It's okay. I get stuck on like certain words when I have podcasts before too, and I would do the exact same thing. Like, same word. Like it's just in there now. This is what it is. It's a good word though.
It is. I need to just go on a thesaurus, I can't even speak, and find a word for amazing. but that is what you are. Having this conversation with you has helped me. It's been a therapy session, so I appreciate that, or coaching session. And let's end this on a super positive, encouraging, inspiring note. In one sentence, what is something you would like to tell people? Leave them with a note of encouragement.
You are capable of healing yourself.
Thank you so much for listening to Normalize the Conversation. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. This podcast is an initiative of Inspiring My Generation, focusing on normalizing the conversation, bringing education and awareness to the forefront, and amplifying global voices to spark change and hope. Inspiring My Generation is a 501c3 nonprofit organization on a mission towards suicide prevention through awareness, conversation, education, and support. Connect with us on Instagram at Inspiring My Generation and visit our website inspiringmygeneration.org to learn more about our work and how you can make a difference.